Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
All right. Welcome everybody to the Quiet Warrior Show. My name is Tom Dutta, and hey, we're live streaming today, and I have a guest on named Nate Palmer. You can see him there. We are live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. Man, this is next generation podcasting where you get to peek into the studio and watch us, bloopers and all. You know, it's January 2022, and we've just come out of a holiday season. Many of us are thinking about refocusing, and I'm a big fan of mind, body, and soul, total package. And so when my guest came across my screen, I went, wow, that looks like a pretty cool topic. And then I saw the $1 Million Body Method, and I went, okay, I'm a little bit skeptical, but man, I got into our guest's book and it blew my mind. There's something very different about this. Before I introduce and tell you a bit about him, and then we'll get rocking, I want to just read you something from Nate Palmer's book, The $1 Million Body Method. I've read the book. I'm going to talk about that. He says the single greatest problem for someone who wants to lose weight and get fit is that there are too many coaches and trainers promoting plans and products that are great for helping you drop some weight from your wallet, but not much else. These gurus are either intent on increasing their own bottom line in an industry that set out for its biggest year ever. The supplement industry was worth $42 billion in 19, or they're coming from a completely unrealistic gym fantasy land where everyone has time to meal prep daily, eat 6 times per day, do 2-hour workouts before their afternoon nap. Your weight loss results do not matter. When I read that, I went, holy crap, I got to read this book. And finally, the BS filter went down. I went, this is real. This is a man who comes from that industry, who has challenged the very industry and the paradigms he learned. And that's why, everybody, you need to get his book and read it and listen to this podcast, because we're going to flip some things upside down and bust through some myths. Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, Nate.
Thanks, Tom. I'm so pumped to be here. And thanks for reading that. I really appreciate that you got a chance to check it out.
Yeah, it's the magic of reading with this Kindle reader. You get the highlight, and you know, I'm not kidding here. I show everybody authenticity. I've got probably 10 pages of printout notes from your book. It really is something we're going to dig into. I want to tell everybody about the greatness behind you, Nate. Just a quick bio here. Everybody, Nate is a fitness and nutrition expert, coach, speaker, writer, who believes that being in incredible shape gives a massive advantage in business, focus, and relationships. He also happens to be a dad, husband, a #1 bestselling author of The $1 Million Body Method and Passport Fitness. He helps business owners and entrepreneurs improve their physique, finances, and family time using fitness and nutrition as force multipliers. Now, that's what I said, Nate. What caught my attention here is that this is not just talking about nutrition, but you talk about a whole lot of other things. In particular, when you talk about business people, I think you're getting a huge audience out there. So let's get into the story. I said to you when I invited you, tell me your gut punch. Tell me maybe some adversity that maybe shifted your thinking and put you on a path to get where you are. And you told me a little story in an email about something that happened. It involved hiding under a bed. Tell us that story, because it's in the book too.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. And also, like, I feel like when you read that bio, it kind of puts this, like, you know, like in a bio, you're kind of bragging a little bit. Like, I'm also just like a guy who, you know, enjoys talking to people and putting out that kind of like sharing what I've learned about nutrition and stuff like that. So I don't want to come across like I'm putting myself as this guru.
Yeah, he's just a guy. The guy has a body like that. Oh, let's take a look at another one. There's just a really cool average guy. Let's take a look at this one. Oh, he's looking like an average guy. Absolutely.
Looking like I could crush a couple IPAs in that picture. But thank you for asking. So my journey with fitness did not kick off in the way that a lot of people's do, where they're captain of the football team or like a track star or something like that, and they got into fitness because they're athletic already. I got into fitness because I was afraid. And I think a lot of people have this reaction, but maybe from a different perspective than I did. So when I was growing up, I was always really skinny. I was a small kid. I remember a girl being like, "Hey, show us your arms." And I was like, "Cool, right? You look at my biceps." And she's like, "I told you Christy's arm is bigger than his." And I was like, "Oh, I'll just go kill myself because I'm 11 and that's the worst thing I've ever heard. So like fast forward to like a couple of years, I think I'm in 8th grade. My mom had just taken my 2 sisters who are younger than me to school, and I'm at home by myself, kind of getting ready, going, waiting for the bus. I hear a knock on the door, and someone comes up, and I don't recognize him, so I don't open the door. Anyways, he comes around the back, and he breaks a window in my house. And I was like, well, I'm young, but I know that's not probably a good sign. But they're like, I was such a scared person that I was honestly as scared of like getting in trouble from calling the police or having to call my mom that I didn't even do anything. So I was like, well, let me grab a steak knife out of the knife block and go hide under my bed. I'm like 12 years old, right? And I lock the door. It's like little rinky dink, like boop, like push button lock.
Goodness.
And I just sit there by myself.
Wow. And you were how old were you?
I think I was 12.
Wow. Well, first of all, man, I want to honor that part of your story. We talk about that. The adversity is really the points we learn from. And I don't bring people on the show who have egos and just talk about how great they are. That's why I love you and what you said about, my bio makes me sound like this, but I'm just an average guy. But dude, let's step into our greatness. You're more than average. And can I share a little story with you because you triggered something? I was going to read that part of the notes I had about the story, but you told it well. I mean, man, there he is under his bed with a steak knife, locked his door because there's an intruder in his house and you don't know what's out there at age 12. I've done 210 episodes on my show over 4 years. I've lived a full life, and I'm a big fan of trying to figure out what motivated me to get up and do what I do. Nobody has ever come on my show and told a story where I go, that's my story. So here goes. When I was about your age, my brother and I, we lived in a neighborhood locally. My father was a military commanding officer. He was out Thursday nights at cadets. And my mom was asleep. The whole family was asleep. I would go up to go to the bathroom, walk down a hallway from my room to the bathroom, which wasn't far. And there was a flashlight shining at me, a black, tall figure. I swear there was a mask or a cap on, and a shiny object, which was a switchblade. And I freaked out. I didn't go to the bathroom. I ran to my room, and I didn't hid under the covers. I didn't tell anybody probably for a year. In fact, I had nightmares. What had happened is that somebody had come into the house through the back and waited till we all went to sleep. They hid in the backyard. They came in and they slashed every carpet, every piece of furniture with the switchblade, destroyed our entire living room. And we didn't know until about a year later. My parents had these ceremonial knives on the fireplace. These are Gurkha knives from the Gurkha tribes, where they used to use them to do ceremonies to kill an animal. They had removed one of the small knives and put their switchblade in that spot. And what's amazing about your story, and thank you for letting me dominate for a minute, is as I was growing up, I was picked on as a kid. I was kind of self-conscious. And then I spent most of my teenage years in a gym with a bunch of meatheads on, taking all these supplements and things, trying to get big. But that dude is what drove me to never want to be in a position like that again. So man, we're like brothers already in this. So I'm going to turn it back to you and let's get into the book itself. Hold up that book so we can see it on the screen there. All right, I'm going to full screen you. Read. Tell us the title again.
It's called The $1 Million Body Method. But like before I talk about the book, though, I just want to say, like, Tom, that is crazy, and it's like that's like psychological. Like, I mean, mine was scary, right? There's a guy in my house and stuff like that. He took some jewelry, took a DVD player. It was the 90s. But for someone to come in there and just like terrorize your house, like I completely understand that feeling of just like powerlessness. And being like, I don't ever want to let someone steal my autonomy again. So like, maybe if I have enough muscles, like I'll be able to protect myself, protect the people around me. Like, dude, like that, like when you're telling me that, like that give me chills, man. I'm like emotional right now.
I know. And thank you. And the funny thing is, they think it was somebody that didn't like my dad, because my dad was pretty tough as a commander, that somebody knew Thursday night, even not here. But anyway, I got past that chapter of my story. That book itself, everybody here, I want to make a comment here that as authors, we get known by people who read our books. So I'd like you to get Nate's book. I want you to read it. I want you to go online and post a review on Amazon, Goodreads.com. That's how this man is going to get his knowledge out there. And So I want to dive into this for a minute. Tell us, this book has something called there's 7 things in it, and this whole method. And then I wrote down something on my paper here. The glycogen priming method is the key to that program. Just get us into that. Tell us, what is it?
So I really like to talk about things in terms of like how do we utilize these like activities, these habits, but think about them in a way that's actually going to benefit our future. And I think as business people, as entrepreneurs, we understand the concept of investing. We understand investing in the stock market. We understand investing in our business. We understand investing in ourselves. But I really think that at the baseline of any successful person who's well-rounded, body, mind, and spirit, the nutrition and the fitness is a cornerstone. It creates amazing habits. It like allows you to build upon it. They say the man with his health has 1,000 dreams. The man without only has one. And I firmly believe that. So I call the 7 critical habits that I think are really important. I call them the 7 daily investments, because without a doubt, if you did these 7 things for the rest of your life and you didn't worry about fad diets or running marathons or eating a lot of kale, you'll be incredibly successful, more than like 99% of the rest of the people in the world. So I can go into what those 7 things are, if that's all right.
Yeah, the 7 daily investments, that also makes this book and this method different, because you talk about an investment, which I love. I also want to just say one more thing before you get into the methods or the investments, that I as a CEO, a high level executive myself, dude, I could never find time in all the coaching and things I've ever had. I could never find time to do the meal preps, do the workouts. And in fact, most of my buddies in the community of business, they're very busy people. So take us into the 7 investments. Just tell us snippets of each.
Absolutely. And I think that you're not alone in that. Like, most people don't have time to do these like huge radical morning routines and meal prep and all this stuff. And I don't think you need to. And I think that like that's a lie that's been sold to us over and over and over again until we just believe that it's true. So the 7 daily investments are the kind of the things I've distilled down into like their most effective doses. So I have a morning routine in there, but like I've got a 1-year-old at home and a 3-year-old. So rather, like when I was, single or married or whatever, I would do 20-minute, 60-minute morning routines. It didn't matter. No one cared. Now I don't have that luxury. So I wanted to distill this down to what's something you can do in 90 seconds that's going to get you most of the benefit, the highest return on your investment. And so I took that into 2 things. Number 1, drink 32 ounces of water first thing when you wake up. Rehydrate your body, start helping your body start burning fat. You're going to get more energy than drinking a pot of coffee. The second thing of the morning routine is 60 seconds of explosive exercise. Jumping jacks, jump rope, jumping on a trampoline, shadow boxing, whatever that looks like. But getting your body moving is going to start getting you active and shift you from that kind of that sleepy like zone we're in when we wake up to what's called sympathetic nervous system dominance, which means that you're in that, I don't like to say fight or flight because there's like not very many cheetahs chasing us on a regular basis, but like shake and bake, you're like ready to go. You're ready to get after it for the day.
And this is in the first 30 minutes from what I recall.
Yeah. Just get it done first thing. Like I like roll out of bed, put on my clothes, drink my water, do my jumping jacks, and like that. And then I'll drink the second glass of water. I'll do like 2 16s. That's kind of the way it goes. And I feel really good. And it didn't take me any time at all, which is perfect. Yeah. Exactly what we need.
That's awesome. And so you get into the second daily investment. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So what's great about these is there's 3 of the daily investments are literally breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it's really just 4 extra things. Okay. So the breakfast is have a high protein, high fat breakfast. Most of the time I'm having people do a protein shake in that way. Just makes it really easy. Again, 3 minutes or less, you're out the door. You've already engineered your nutrition to match your goals. So you're going to be feeling good. You're going to be telling your body to burn fat. And then by going really low carb in the morning, we have subscribed to what I think of as like the last in, first out, or LIFO model of like fat loss. Yeah. Whereas I think a lot of times, like when you're eating carbohydrates all the time, it'd be like working at a grocery store. You're working at Albertsons or something like that. I don't know if you have Albertsons up in Vancouver, but you put the milk in, right? And then like someone takes the milk out, and then as a staff person, you come and put the milk back in the front. Okay. So that's what it's like to eat carbs, where you're only taking out that one thing over and over again. And all this milk in the back is just sitting there getting older. Okay. What we want to do is like pull it out and then come around back and put it back in there. So that way we're always burning the oldest stuff first. So by giving our body low carbs in the morning, we can teach our bodies to burn stored fat or for energy. So it's just like, do you know how your body works, and can you manipulate it? Can you turn that knob? Can you pull that lever? Because that's what it's all about. Like this whole like 6 meals per day, meal prep, tilapia and broccoli, that's blunt force trauma and it can work, but only for a certain amount of time. And you're going to hate every minute of it. I'd rather you eat tacos and have a good time.
Yeah, you know, in my lifetime, there's been many recommendations in this: eat every 4 hours and small meals and whatnot. It's very complicated. Something you said about the breakfast, when I heard high fat, I'm pretty educated now from your program, but for a lot of people, when they hear that, they go, what? Because, the nutrition supplement market talks about protein shakes, and uh, I've been working through a concussion or a brain injury for a few years from a fall in a bathtub, and I've kind of realized there's healthy fats and there's unhealthy fats. So just comment about that before people think they should start going out and eating all kinds of fat.
Yeah. So we're not trying to just like have like, lard or a bunch of like trans fats or saturated fats.
Apparently in parts of the world they do. And in London, there's something called drippings. It's actually actual fat. Seriously, I'm a home chef. Actual fat that comes out, almost looks like bacon, and they layer it on toast. And apparently that's a delicacy.
That doesn't surprise me. That's from the UK. Like for spending so much of their nation's history like looking for spices, they don't use any of it in their cooking.
That's right. Anyway, sorry, get back into that again.
So so healthy fats. We want to make sure that we're having like we want to have a lot of omega-3 fatty acids and a lot of the omega-6 fatty acids. So like we think about fish oil, you think about healthy fats from like salmon, and I think to a certain extent, like peanut butter, natural peanut butter, almond butter, avocados. Those can have some those are mostly monounsaturated fats. Some of them are saturated fats, but they're healthier. Avocados is saturated fat. Coconut oil is a saturated fat, but those are going to be good for you. They're all going to promote anti-inflammation. And then what I love about eating fat is that it can give you this really great calm energy all day. Yeah. That's not going to like spike your blood sugar. It's going to level you out. And like, until you really get a feel for your body and what your hormones are up to, what your energy is like, and then what your cravings are like, those are two of the biggest like tells. Like, once you start understanding that, you're going to tell a massive difference. And you'll be like, wow, I was living with such low energy before that. I didn't even realize it. But that fat is a great, what I call low impact fuel. So if you're podcasting, if you're reading, if you're writing, you're presenting, you're writing emails, whatever that looks like in your life and business, that's the perfect fuel. If you're going out and you're digging big holes, you're building houses, you need some carbs. Most of us, that's not the case.
Yeah. Now, what about there's people out there who say, I'm too busy and I skip breakfast, or there's many, because I think North America, Canada might be a bit different, but, there's a epidemic of obesity and whatnot in parts of the world, United States for sure. I travel down the US, and dude, there's something that I got to share with you here and get off my chest. I go to my Starbucks up here. Well, I don't go to Starbucks now that I know how to keep my body, but there's something called plate size. And there's a very big difference between the plate size in the US and up here. So when I go to Starbucks here, the items that are on display, and I go to the US, they're bigger. And I had a friend, he was a chief operating officer from a company that I worked for. I was in Canada, and he was sort of a dotted line boss I had. And I took him out for dinner up here in Canada, and he looked at the plate and he said, what's this? Where's all the food? So
when do we stop having appetizers?
Yeah. So I think quantity comes in, but there are some people who will go for high carbs and sugar, and some will skip breakfast. Is that a major disaster?
The carbs and sugar in the morning, I would consider that a major disaster. And the reason for that is that it sets your day off like in the wrong, like, have you ever woken up late, Tom, and you have a meeting at like 8 o'clock and you're supposed to be up by 7, and then you're all the way, like you sleep until 7:40 and you're rushing. It's hard to come back from that, isn't it? All day long, you're like, right?
Exactly.
So that's what having a high sugar, high carbohydrate breakfast does for us. Because if what we need is this nice, steady, like all day, slow release energy that we get from fats, having high carb in the morning, even if it's like a banana or like a whole grain bagel or something, it's like, boom, blood sugar goes way up. And then a lot of times our blood sugar goes up and then our insulin goes up to meet it, but we go a little beyond what we need. So then the blood sugar goes down, the insulin's taking care of it, but we still have this insulin just hanging out in our system. And what that does, it sends a signal from our brain. It's called ghrelin. It's a hormone, just naturally releases. And it's like, hey, we have some insulin left over. We need some sugar. And so rather than having like 6 blueberries, we're like, well, let me just have half a donut at 10:30. Right. Then that blood sugar goes up, insulin goes up, and then back down. So we're all day long, we're just chasing these like the blood sugar and insulin around, and we're never getting to the point where we're smooth. We have that great energy. Like, you've had those days when you're in flow state.
Absolutely.
And that's what we can engineer that, but never if you're going to have a big high carb meal. You'll never get that. Even if you are extremely insulin sensitive and your body, like you're really lean, your body processes carbs. It's just never going to give you that smooth energy that high fat, high protein can give you.
Yeah, there was a part in the book, I can't remember which page in my notes here, but you don't have to go into the detail. People can get the book, but you talked about, there was a list of diseases or ailments, and it talked about, you just said it, something about insulin
resistance.
Resistance. And one of the items on the list there, PCOS, and I know someone who deals with that. So there's reasons to get this book and take a look, because I think what you're doing is you're giving us some preventive strategies in here, because I believe that, all disease, happens after, the diet. It's what we put into our bodies and how we live our lifestyle. Let's look at something here. When I just had a thought here, my brain's going on a journey. There's Nate watching his energy going up. He's amazed. Look at that. Nate, hold that book up again and tell us the title.
$1 Million Body Method: The Entrepreneur's Diet for Superhuman Focus and Rapid Fat Loss.
We're here today with Nate Palmer, the author of this #1 best-selling book, The $1 Million Body Method. And Nate, would you join me in watching a little video for a minute?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do this. I'm just going to put it on the screen here, and it's about a minute, and then we'll get you to just talk about it. Stand by.
For my family and my kids, can you help me? And I said, okay, let's start off with a simple framework that's going to allow you to get the results that you want at home with your family. And then we'll start building on top of this to get better results physically. We'll add in training, etc. Fast forward 2 months, I reach out and I'm like, hey, how is everything going? And he goes, dude, it's amazing. My energy is never better. I do not have to crash on the couch, watch ESPN for 30 minutes before I can have a great time with my kids in the evening. It's like, that's fantastic, man. I'm so glad to hear that. And he goes, yeah, by the way,
wow,
in this last 2 months, I've lost 22 pounds without training, without doing a whole lot of anything else. He was able to lose 22 pounds by just adhering to the simple framework that puts you in the driver's seat of your energy and of your fat loss. That is what the $1 Million Body is about. It is about leveling up. It is about becoming greater. It's about becoming more. We are the movers. We are the doers. We are the action takers. And to be all of that, to have everything that you want in life, we need to prioritize a health and fitness framework that gives you everything that you need. So jump in with us. Check out the workouts. Check out the podcast. Check out the nutrition. Check out the $1 Million Body Method book on Amazon. Whatever you do, I'd encourage you to dig a little bit deeper and see what it is that makes the $1 Million Body Method so special and how you can start utilizing it today to get the results that you deserve.
Whew. Boy, I tell you, that certainly gets my brain going and thinking. Tell us about that. Watching it back again. First of all, what's the impact of watching yourself like that? And some pretty strong comments in there. Everybody, by the way, you can find that on YouTube, and we'll get from Nate at the end his website where you can find all his stuff. Talk about that video for a minute.
Well, first, I'm like, man, I'm glad my look doesn't change a whole lot between these things. But I love that story. And that's kind of the client I was speaking about there was kind of the starting point, the linchpin of the $1 Million Body program back in 2018. And I've been doing online coaching since 2015. I was one of the first people kind of in that game. But basically what I was doing was shipping off Excel documents with workouts on them. I love working out. I love training. Like it comes from like building strength and building muscle. And I saw how that impacted myself. You're kind of going from running from fear toward running towards something bigger. But what I found is that most people were not getting the results they wanted to because they couldn't adhere long-term to a training program for some reason. And the majority of the time is that they weren't seeing enough results physically to keep them motivated and on point. So in 2018, I keep saying 20,000. I don't know. Words are hard. 2018, I was working with a client. He's like, I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to meal prep. I'm going to eat out 5 days per week. And I don't even care about losing weight. My energy is just so horrible. You need to help me with it. So we kind of went back to the drawing board and put together a plan that was all about using your body's natural mechanisms to create more energy. And so when he came to me and said, oh my gosh, the energy is insane, but also I'm losing fat at a faster rate than I've ever been able to before. I was like, this is more important than fat loss. Like this is bigger than that. like you said, it's preventative for disease. It's learning how your body functions. It's showing up with a ton of energy. But the thing that kind of like, bums me out a little bit, Tom, is that like I talk about fat loss and belly fat and six packs and 10% body fat and stuff like that all the time, because that's the sexy thing that sells.
Yeah.
I would love to talk about energy and building muscle and all these things, but those things are just a little bit more relegated to like a niche market of people who care about that. So in order to like talk more to more people, I have to like kind of promote that, like that sexy, like sell the sizzle, right? And then I try to deliver the steak.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Well, first of all, I think all of us would like to have a body that is sculpted, like that picture we saw there, particularly even like what you've done. I assume you never looked that way throughout your life, and that's a testament to why your program works, because you live and walk the talk. One of the things I want to just ask you about was, this whole part about weight loss. There's a lot of junk out there, pills and things that are just crap, and it's like rapid loss. I had a scientist, a muscle specialized in muscle, understanding protein and things like that, saying that there's losing healthy weight loss. There's one thing, healthy weight loss. So losing too much weight too fast, losing muscle mass. So how in your program, I know the program from the book, people will read it, but how in your program do you balance that to make sure there is a focus on, the whole equation?
Yeah, good question. And I think of it in phases, because in phase one, like if we just take it, like there's kind of these two schools of thoughts. Number one is like food is just fuel. And people who like kind of have that consideration don't take into account that food is culture, food is love, food is family, and there's like a huge like sharing component to food. And if you just are like food is fuel, and you never really understand the other level. And then on the other side, you have people who are like, oh yeah, like you just need to like you do it super sustainably and super slow. But what ends up happening is that like people lose interest and get unmotivated. So I think there's a happy medium. And I think that is phase one. Okay. So if you're just starting something out, I want you to see a big win. I want you to get a victory here. So like in the first month, the first 4 weeks, when people are working with me, I have something that's a little bit more strict, so we've seen people lose from 8 pounds in a month. I saw someone lose 22 pounds in a single month. He was on the heavier side, but still that was incredible progress. And it was amazing because he wasn't even working out that much. He was just following along with the nutrition. And I don't want him to lose 22 pounds every month. That would be detrimental. But the amount of excitement and motivation he had leaving that month carried him through the rest of the year. So his whole transformation, he lost like 80 pounds. It was incredible. But it started off with that spark, that feeling of like, I'm doing it. I'm being successful for the first time.
Yeah, that's amazing. We're going to get into, I think, the fifth investment, the last final deposit, and in a minute. Everybody, we're talking to Nate Palmer, the author of the $1 Million Body Method, and I want to honor you first. Yeah, there's the book there. I want to honor you first of all, man. What I didn't realize, but if you heard Nate say a minute ago, everyone, that he does a lot of coaching online and sending out PDFs about exercise routines. That's how he sort of developed himself. Dude, in a COVID-19 world, digitizing your business, moving online, that's fantastic. I did a TED Talk in 2020 after my injury, my concussion, and there's a fellow I just found him. I knew him, who I said, you got to train me for 3 months so I can get on stage, because I was really in bad shape. And when we hit COVID, his business died. He hadn't put together any online. So way to go. I think this is part of the future, everybody, where you can get Nate online. It doesn't matter where you are. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and you can be my coach. I think that's just awesome, man. It's a great example to the industry. Let's talk about the fifth deposit, and then I want to talk about the book again. Fifth deposit, or the final deposit. Sorry. Tell us about that.
Okay, so this one is one that a lot of people sleep on, I think, because they're like, oh yeah, I'll write down, because the final deposit is basically take stuff out of your brain and put it onto a sheet of paper after you finish work for the day or before you go to sleep. I think a lot of times we're like, yeah, sounds all well and good, but I think this one thing can help you clarify so much of what you're doing, and it enables you to have the energy for your family, for your tribe, after you finish out like your work day. So here's how I do mine. I call it the final deposit. And then on one side, I write down, what am I proud of for the day? What did I do today that I think is important? Because as entrepreneurs, like leaders and stuff, we often like don't look at our successes, or we think we just poo-poo them. We're like, oh yeah, on to the next. And then I take stuff, I go, what is the important thing that I need to do that's going to allow me to move the needle? And I call that win the day.
Yeah.
So I write those things down, and then I shut everything down. I unplug my computer and I'm done for the day. And that has been such an important thing for me, especially as my kids are getting a little bit older, because I can be on my phone all the time being like, oh yeah, honey, I'm just checking Instagram messages one more time. Oh, I just know how to respond to this email. And that's not how I want my daughter to grow up, thinking that my cell phone is more important than her. So this final deposit, so great for clarifying my thoughts on what I need to do tomorrow to be very successful. And also just like leveling the playing field and allowing me to shut off and shut down, which is critical for us as entrepreneurs and leaders.
Yeah, I like that. And there's more than that in the book, everybody. The fifth investment, final deposit. I'm a big advocate of that, man, especially knowing a lot of leaders in business. They talk the talk, but they don't, to-do lists you talk about on the job. But this first hour of the day or last hour of the day, almost everybody I know who's become healthy and successful have some type of a routine. And when I want to come back to my injury, I fell in a bathtub and had a brain injury, and it's 3 years now. I'm still recovering. I've got broken double vision and eye issues that I'm still working on. And I'm in an advanced program at a neuroplasticity clinic. I had to literally reteach myself to think and speed up my brain, and slipped into depression pretty quickly. And had my first suicidal thoughts. That's what I talked about in the talk I did. But they sent me to cognitive behavioral therapy for a year, and I don't want to get deep into this, but I started learning about neuromodulators, these words, dopamine and serotonin and norepinephrine, which I'd heard before. But when I started connecting all the dots, I started realizing, and what you said blew my mind, it's so good, that this is a total picture. So, for example, I'm in a high-stress job as a business leader, and the board's not happy. I'm traveling. I'm away from my family and my kids. And dopamine, what I understand is dopamine is released not for the reward, but in anticipation of reward. So there I am. And what am I doing when I'm traveling? I'm taking in sugar. I'm drinking wine and alcohol to create this flow to make me feel better. If I do what you said, if I do things like separating from my thoughts, writing my final deposit, doing things, and start understanding how I can use my brain and these techniques you're talking about for my mental health, it also impacts. Tell me what you think, but it impacts how we eat. I can be on your program, but if I'm not managing my mental health, I don't give a crap. I'm gonna fall off the wagon. Just tell me if I'm full of it or if there's something there.
No, man, that's 100% right. And again, like these are the things that I think are so intricate and so interesting, but we got to talk all about six packs and abs, right? Because when you get to the end of your day and you have all
six pack,
you have all these
just to rub it in,
and you have all these thoughts going through your head, like you end up with what they call decision fatigue. And for a long time, I was like, decision fatigue, that's fake. But it's not. It's a real thing. It's been studied. So they show that like if you have a cookie out on the countertop in the beginning of the day, you're 90% not going to touch that. At the end of the day, there's like an 88% chance you're going to be like, yep, I deserve this. So when you're able to de-stress and declutter your mind, you're actually doing yourself a favor in terms of your fitness, your nutrition, and your mental health as well. Because if you're cluttered, if you're frustrated, it's so easy for us to reach for something comforting. And for most of us, that can be alcohol and that can be food. And that's like, those are the two most abused drugs in the US at least. So I'm sure it's probably the same across Canada as well. But it's so easy for us to be like, I'm frustrated, I'm stressed. And without even realizing it, we're in the fridge compromising our values again, until the point where you're like, it's 9 p.m. and you're like, sure, I'll eat the heel of this bread and an old piece of cheese. And you're just so far down that road that there's no coming back because you've never had a clarity of mind to be able to take that deep breath and realize that it's all good. You're fine. Everything's going well. You just needed a little bit more clarity.
That's why I like the program we're talking about here, everybody, the $1 Million Body Method. I like the fact that I think it's 28 days is the core of it, and then you keep going with some stuff to maintain it. But I like the whole body, mind, soul, the whole package that here he is, Nate, talking about not just physical, but the mental health side, all of that. There's one other piece that I want to talk about. Before that, let's talk about the book for a minute. So one more time, hold that up for us. We're sure giving you a commercial on that. There it is, everybody. You want to get it, you want to read it, please do a review on it. Review means read it and go to Amazon or goodreads.com and post a review where you find the book. It's easy to do. That helps his work get known. I've got something I want to share with you here. Just stand by. All right, we're going to put it up on the screen. So there you have it, your international Canadian 5-star review. I posted this January 1st on Amazon, and people can read it. I'll leave it in the show here, and they can go onto Amazon. But I titled this, Boom, He Challenges His Profession. And then I went through and I commented, this book blew my mind, Nate. So it's such a great book. And let's, I guess it's probably worth some fireworks.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's take that.
Tom,
off
thank
the
you so
screen.
much. That means a lot. Honest, like I know you've said that a couple of times, but like really, as an independent author, like getting a review on that book is like is fantastic.
Awesome, man.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. There it is. There's proof. The proof of the pudding on the Amazon. Everybody, if you're listening to the podcast, we're showing images on Amazon and online. Please go to my YouTube channel, subscribe to it, where you can watch the video production, which will come out. You'll see everything, the crazy things we're doing. All right, man. So excited for you about that. Let's move to one that really is a confusing topic for me. And just as I said to you, I've been doing some things to recover from a brain injury, but they gave me a podcast to listen to by a Stanford brain surgeon, and the topic of fasting came up again. And in your book, you talk about 24-hour fasting. So I like that whole concept, but I think it's misunderstood. So tell us, if we were to do that, what's the best way to do it and why?
So I've experimented with a lot of different types of fasting over the years. And you mentioned one of them earlier, just skipping breakfast and doing like the 16/8 intermittent fasting. But what I found is that the 24-hour or longer, the prolonged fast, are better than the intermittent fasting for several reasons. Number one, a 24-hour fast is basically equivalent to 3.5 16-hour fasts. Number two, I found that with the 16-hour fast, when you eat lunch, that ends up being a larger than average meal for the day. So what we end up doing is you end up having a bigger meal then, which will raise your blood sugar levels and keep your energy low for the afternoon. So when you're trying to cross stuff off your to-do list, check those boxes, you can put like 2 hours worth of work into 4 hours. And instead we want to do the opposite. We want to have so much focus and so much energy that we're doing 4 hours of work in 2 hours so you can get home and do the things that really matter to you. So for that reason, I love the 24-hour fast, like just kind of outside of all those other things. The second reason the 24-hour fast is incredible is because it gives you this like insurance policy, this safety net. So if you do have a couple of glasses of wine here or there, if you are going to eat a little dessert on a night, like once or twice, it's not going to impact you as the way that it would if you're eating every single day. So it gives you that little bit of flexibility so that you don't have to like say, no pizza ever again. I'll never eat tacos. I'm never having beer. Like, cause those things are really limiting. And I think that when you say like, hey, you can't have something, like, what do we want to do? You know, if you're like me, it's like, I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna have 10 of those things. You said I can't, I'm having more now.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, sorry, just my simple mind, and I do cognitively sometimes get lost in my thoughts right now. But when I hear 24 hours, that always tripped me up. So you explain it very well in the book. When I first started hearing that, I started freaking out, going like, I'm not eating for 24 hours, and it was like 3 meals and 2 days. But just spell it out again. So right now, I'm waking up and it's breakfast. What's going to happen today with my meals?
So basically how I would do it, like the simplest way to do this is eat breakfast, lunch, and then have a really healthy, nutrient dense dinner tonight. From there, don't eat breakfast or lunch tomorrow and have a healthy, nutrient dense dinner tomorrow. So you're spending 24 hours in a fasted state, but you're not going 2 sleeps without eating. Gotcha. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I love pushing people into a 36 or a 48-hour fast. I think it's really challenging mentally. It's fantastic physically. It's great for fat loss. But to start off, just do the 24 And then you can
Okay.
always
Yeah.
go from there. But I think that there's something very powerful for two reasons. Number one, you're doing an esteemable action. You're saying, I'm going to do this thing, and then you're accomplishing it. You can pat yourself on the back and your self-confidence is going to grow. So when someone's like, hey, can you do this thing? You're like, yeah, I can handle that. I'm good, you know, and that gives you that ability. The second thing is that like when you go through that, like that process and you get those hunger pangs and you start being like, you can kind of separate yourself from it. And you're like, you know what? I am stronger than these cravings.
Yeah.
Like I'm able to separate myself from like my feelings and my emotions around food. And it builds this mental strength and fortitude that is remarkably different than what the culture preaches of eat 6 times per day. No, you can have snacks during meals. So like that way, when I'm like, hey, don't snack, you're like, yeah, why would I? I'm good. And I think that is an incredible mental transformation outside of the physical stuff that happens as well.
Yeah, that's great advice. Also, I think about diabetes. My dad passed away a few years ago. He drank hard most of his life, and he was 22 years dry with AA. So I think he beat himself up. So that's probably part of why he didn't live as long. But he had type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure and all these things, and he was medicating for it. But I know my dad and a lot of people I know have diabetes. And my doctor says, don't snack. Like a lot of people watch movies. We're in this digital age, right? Where we're isolated, and out comes the popcorn and the Twizzlers and all this crap. But tell us about snacking after you have your dinner. Probably not a good idea.
Not ideal. And I think if you're going to snack after dinner, there's a couple like ways you can do it smartly. Smartly, is that a word? I don't know. I'm not smartly. I'm not smartly enough to know.
It is now. You just coined it.
But I think that like just snacking in general is a super detrimental, like diabetes, obesity causing issue. You know, that idea of like you're never giving your body a chance to rest and digest. And that's another thing about fasting is that when you're not eating, your body goes into a process called autophagy. Autophagy is a fancy word that means cleaning out old, broken down cells. Okay.
Wow.
So it's like your body's natural detox. So rather than buying like all these like juice cleanses and skinny teas and detoxes that people are selling on Instagram, just let your body do it. Your body's incredibly smart and it loves you so much. So do that from the natural perspective. But when you're eating all the time and you're snacking between meals at 10:30, at 3:30, at 9 p.m. after dinner, you're never giving your body a chance to actually understand what's going on. You're hearing a signal and you're like, I guess that means time to eat. But you're probably thirsty. You're probably bored. You probably haven't slept enough. And we never are able to understand or feel those things because we just mask it with a sandwich. We mask it with some chips or popcorn, you know? So I think like, yes, you can snack in the evening and still lose weight and still be healthy. There's no problems with that. But the problem comes when that's our crutch, that we rely on that and we can't hear the signals that our body is really like shouting at us.
Yeah. There's a whole nother element that's coming with COVID. A lot of people are forced to work at home. We won't have time to get into that here, but I think everybody from the early part of the interview, if you go back, it's a teaching moment about how Nate's program has you start your day. My wife has a home office. She works for one of the banks up here, and she basically went from standing and being a manager in the bank to sitting all day with a headset. It's like a call center. So I bought her one of those rising desks. But one of the biggest fears is, and I can see that this whole shift in our lifestyles of not being as active is having an impact. So, you know, I think your program and getting on something like this, you know, that's going to give us some hope and it's going to give us a path forward. I want to make a bold commitment here and actually publicly ask you to hold me accountable. I have about 4 weeks to finish with my brain therapy program I was telling you about. We can talk offline about that if you're interested. But I would want to do this program. And so we can, from afar, I've got the book, I've read it. So I'm going to put a stake in the ground and commit to you that I want to do the 28 days. I'll tell you when we're going to start. You can use me as a guinea pig, video me, whatever you want. And we'll get back together again once that's finished, man. And because I know with what I'm trying to do, getting my health back to 100%, yeah, I need that.
Let's do it. I love you planting the stake. That public accountability is clutch too, you know? Because now everyone just heard you say that, so you can't not do it.
So I guess that means I have to release this interview too. Well, wait a minute.
Are my connections going? Can you hear me? Am I coming through?
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. All right, as we go to wrap up, I've got one more surprise for you. But before we do that, hold up the book again and tell everybody if they want to get on this program, connect with you. How do they do that?
So if you're looking to check out the book, it's on Amazon. You can check that out. Just type in $1 Million Body Method. You can get the ebook on there or hardcover if you're interested. If you want to connect with me further, then add me on Instagram at $1 Million Body Method, or you can find, they have a Facebook community called Lose the Gut, Eat More Tacos, Never Track Your Calories, the MDB Project. And you can go there by going to n8trainingsystems.com/group. We'll get you there. And then, yeah, shoot me an email if you want to. I'm around. Always love to connect.
Hey, fantastic. We'll put it in the show notes as well. And so at this point in the show, those who follow me, you'll know that I honor you with 4 leadership words. I write these down on my notepad here. They're not scripted. So I'm going to read them out loud. The first one is maven. In the book Outliers, a maven is somebody, when you think about a topic, you say, who do I go to? Well, in terms of your body and getting where you need to be, this is the man. Number 2 is integrity. Again, it goes back to the book. You challenge yourself in your industry, and I love that. Number 3 is resilient, obviously. And number 4 is energy. I don't know. Are you always like this? I mean, I want that energy, man. Just watch his back and it's like, okay, that's amazing to me. And the last thing is we're going to induct you with an award here. I don't know if you knew you were going to get this, but I'm just going to full screen me for a minute and hide you. So behind me there, Nate, is what's called a challenge coin. And you can see the front has a picture of kind of looks like a guy I know. And that's the Purpose Action Life, the show. The back is actually the hero's journey narrative fully illustrated, which is the thread. The thread in my show is we're all connected by stories. And as you probably heard up front, everybody, Nate told a story about something that happened to him in his early years. And I connected to that story. We're there. I had these hand painted and crafted. They're raised letters. Are beautiful. And you'll be receiving this. These are challenge coins that started in World War II, and they were used to commit community. And today they're used around the world. First responders, AA, every organization that has these connects people together. There's only less than 50 a year that go out in a planet of 88 billion people. And really, I only give these out to people who come and are real, tell their authentic story, but they're doing something with their adversity and their learning to help people in their lives. And last, by receiving it, you commit to continuing with your purpose, continue to take that action and create the life you deserve, but also help people do the same. So welcome to the Quiet Warrior Tribe. We're across 17 countries now.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You have blown my mind today, Tom. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Yeah. We gotta have some fireworks.
You gotta have some fireworks. Yeah, just make sure you keep that mind healthy, man. We need you. So on that note, I'm gonna just let you have the last word, and then we're gonna wrap this up.
Cool. So if I get a chance to talk, I love hearing my own voice. So it's perfect. Thank you. But the thing that I would like, if anyone's listening right now that is kind of on the edge, like, well, I could, I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to jump in. Here's the encouragement that I would have for you is that the amazing thing about starting a business, doing a side hustle, or working on your fitness and your health is that there's no talent required, and your victory, the chance of you winning at this is 100%. Your victory is guaranteed. You cannot lose at this. You cannot lose. The only way to lose is to quit. So you have 15 pizzas one night. If you drink 13 bottles of wine, it does not matter. Just take the next step, because you can't lose if you don't quit. So if you're thinking about it, if you failed in the past before, if you don't feel like, there's nothing that really works for me and my body, it doesn't matter. Take that next step, because you got this. You got this. And it's not just like be good to have, lose some weight or have a six pack, whatever else, but you owe it to yourself to show up big time for the people around you that really matter. Your family, your kids, your partner, the tribe of people that you're leading in your business. Everyone else is going to be so impacted by your evolution and your up leveling. So do this, not just for yourself, but for the people around you, the people that you love and that you want to take care of, because the way when you continue to grow and build, you become the standard. You set the standard for those people around you, and you cannot lose at this if you don't stop.
Wow, that is a motivational clip in itself. Everybody come back to the show and re-listen to that. What a teaching moment. We have Nate Palmer, the author of The $1 Million Body Method and a man who lives and walks that. And I want you to stand by while we wrap the show up. Nate, we'll talk for a minute offline. We'll have an after party. I think what we'll do is we'll take our shirts off. You'll see what you used to look like, and I'll see what I'm going to look like.
Done deal. Here for it.
All right. All right, everybody. Hey, listen, find your true purpose and passion like you hear from Nate there, and live the life that you deserve and desire. And when this episode is released as the video premiere and the podcast, check it out again and get that book of Nate's. Thank you, Nate.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca